Hello YouTube. This video is going to be a little bit different. Why? I'm in Minneapolis. You can see right behind me Chicago Avenue, the street where George Floyd was killed. And we're here protesting. We're here getting shot by police with rubber bullets, tear gassed, and out of solidarity I wanted to make my history video on history in Spain here in Minneapolis. So sorry if the audio quality is not as good. Sorry if there's weird background noises. But this is what we got to do. And Yusuf Kayswit, Professor Yusuf Kayswit, if you're watching this video, uhibbik fillah. And I hope you stay safe. And this video is because of your work. Professor Yusuf Kayswit is the world's authority on Ibn Barrajan, in my opinion, and his book is the best book to read on the subject. And so, the next Mu'tabar that I'm going to talk about, if you haven't caught the hint, is Ibn Barrajan. He was born in 1058 and died in 1141 Gregorian. And he was of the Almerian school and became a mystic of great fame prior to the influx of Ghazalian writings into Andalusia. He was known for his opposition to the Almoravid state jurists, the Al-Murabitun, even though he was given the epithet the Ghazali of the West, so Ghazali al-Maghrib. Okay, but there is no textual support to show any Ghazalian impact on Ibn Barrajan's thought, since he was in his mid-40s by the time of the Ihya controversy. So there was a controversy in Andalusia regarding the Ihya Ulum ad-Din written by Imam Ghazali. So there is no possible way that it had any impact on his formative education, his younger years, all right? Although he most likely would have read al-Ghazali's works, and Ibn Barrajan, he saw himself rather as belonging to the indigenous, renunciant, Mutabirun, mystical tradition of Andalus, which harkens back to Ibn Masarra's Mutabirun movement. Ibn Barrajan promoted Ibn Masarra's key teachings and identified himself as being one of the people who ponder the world of dominion, Ahlul Ibra fi Alam al-Malakut. He was known for being a muhaddith and pondering the signs of God and nature, being a window to the hereafter, perhaps as a precursor to Ibn Arabi's focus on the ahadith Qudsiyya, found throughout Ibn Arabi's works, and Ibn Arabi's concept of wahdat al-wujud. There is some evidence that the Mu'tabirun movement and Ibn Barrajan had their own countercurrent views on the law, as Ibn Barrajan was known for allowing temporary marriage, mut'ah, not believing in Quranic abrogation in a similar fashion to the Zahiris. It is also to be noted that the only other figure linked to this stance was that of Ibn Masarra's students, like Ismail al-Ru'ayni, which Kayswit says suggests a shared worldview and a unique scholarly epistemology. Ibn Barrajan saw revelation as the guiding light which makes Ibra effective. In fact, he was known for proclaiming that Ma'rifah, gnosis, was by no means dominant over the Sharia, but rather that mystical knowledge, Ma'rifah, illuminates and complements juridical and exoteric knowledge. Ibn Barrajan said, he might say exoteric knowledge is nullified by mystical knowledge, and mystical knowledge invalidates legal rulings. All of this is heresy. Ibn Barrajan posted a concept called the devotional practice of servanthood, ta'abbud. posited a concept called the devotional practice of servanthood, ta'abbud, which is a type of ritual action that is also a contemplation, ibrah, to unlock the divine names and attributes. For example, Ibn Barrajan held that ta'abbud for the divine name al-Wahid is to worship him exclusively without a partner, and in the knowledge that God only accepts works of devotion that are performed only for his sake. The servant must also completely realize that God alone creates, nourishes, and sustains us. Related to that is Ibn Barrajan's notion of the universal servant, al-Abd al-Kulli, a precursor for which the perfect human being, al-Insan al-Kamil of Ibn Arabi, which is also found in Ikhwan al-Saffa, the Brethren of Purity that I mentioned in the last episode. The universal servant, as explained by Ibn Barrajan, is a pre-existential creation of God that contains all the realities of creation and man. Being an all-comprehensive reality, both micro and macrocosm, occupying an intermediate station between God and the world of creation. Ibn Barrajan envisions the universal servant as a man standing in prayer, رَجُلٌ قَائِمٌ يُصَلِّي, in perfect submission and adoration of God, which exemplifies the prayer that every believer aspires to perform. Subsequently, the Prophet Adam alayhi salam is then created according to the form of the universal servant, meaning that he was taught all the names of Allah, or all the names period, from Quranic verse 31 in Surah Al-Baqarah. And Ibn Barrajan calls Adam the particular servant, al-Abd al-Juz'i. Like Ibn Masarra and later Ibn Qasi, the notion of divine command is a large part of Ibn Barrajan's cosmology. He regularly ties his discussions of i'tibar with the descent of God's command, for it determines the world of creation. The world of creation is God's command, so it is a sign of God, and everything therefore returns back to God. According to Ibn Barrajan, there are two types of command: the command of the divine law, amrun shar'un, and the command of creation, amrun kawnun, both of which are interrelated. Through i'tibar, one arrives at the conclusion that God's commands in his law are indicated by the spheres that rotate through God's command of the creation. Therefore, the times of prayer can be induced by the position of the sun, fasting by the beginning of the month of Ramadan, due to the moon sighting, and so on. Ibn Barrajan would go on to be recognized as an imam in 130 different Andalusian villages. The al-Muravids, al-Murabitun, became so nervous about Ibn Barrajan's increasing influence that the Sultan summoned him to Marrakesh, whereupon the Sultan had Ibn Barrajan killed, throwing his body into a garbage dump. It was Sheikh Abu Madian who called the population of Marrakesh to attend Ibn Barrajan's funeral prayer. Ibn Arabi mentions Ibn Barrajan 6 times in the Futuhat al-Makkiyah, regarding him as the Ahlullah, but ultimately considered his position to be lower than that of Ibn al-Arif.
It's time for us to stand up in unity. It is time for us to stand up in peace. When we take foot on this concrete, the world should never forget his name. The world should never forget his face. The world should never forget what they did to this innocent brother. The man was in handcuffs. What could he do? What could he do? How many of y'all got kids? Put your fist in there. How many got kids?
I hear right now. Let's go.
If it's your kids going in the ground, how would you feel? How would you feel? They told me to introduce myself. My name is not important. My name is not important. My face is not important. What is important? The name of George Floyd. The name of George Floyd. Say his name.
George Floyd.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
Say his name.
George Floyd.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No racist.
Police.
No racist.
Police.
Stand up. Stand up. Hold the line. No more on your knees begging. We do not beg to live. We have the right to live.
Yes.
If y'all know of these people that is tearing up y'all home, don't sit there and be a coward.
Thank you.
Stand up and tell them to take that shit to the police department.
Yep.
Take that to the governor's house.
Yep.
Don't do it when you lay your